Hello students, how are you? Today I will teach you the chapter Population from the Contemporary India 1 Social Science Class 9. As you all know children, population or people are the most valuable resource in a nation. Why are they important? They are important to develop the economy and the society of the nation. A well-educated and healthy population provides potential power to the nation. Can you imagine a world without human being? Well, it is the population of that country that make and use the resource and they themselves become a resource for the nation. Thus, we can say population is the most important element in a country. Resources become meaningful only when they are related to human being. So, we can say that the distribution, numbers, qualities, growth, etc. of population that matters a lot to understand the different aspects of the environment. As you all know, people are the producers as well as consumers of the earth resource. So, it is very important to know the size of the population, how and where do they live, why the numbers are increasing or decreasing, etc. All such aspects we can know from the census of India that provides information regarding the population of the country. Let us discuss about the census. What is census? It is the official count of the population of a country which is done periodically. This is once in every 10 years. For example, the last census was held in 2011. So, when will be the next census? Well, it will be in 2021. In India, the first census was held in 1872. However, the first complete census that was held in 1881. Since then, the census is held regularly every 10th year. Census provides us not only the total population for a given time, it also provides various information such as their age group, sex, income status, occupation and many more. Let us now discuss about the three aspects concerned about the population. Do you know what are the three aspects? They are population size and distribution, population growth and processes of population change, and characteristics or qualities of the population. Let us discuss about India's population, size and the distribution by numbers. As you all know children, India's population as on March 2011, it stood at 1,210.6 million. That accounts for about 17.5% of the world's population. These 1.21 billion people are unevenly distributed over our country's vast area of 3.28 million square kilometer. That accounts for about 2.4% of the world's area. Coming to 2011 census data that reveals Uttar Pradesh with a population size of 199 million is the most populous state of India. Uttar Pradesh accounts for about 16% of the country's total population. On the other hand, the Himalayan state of Sikkim has a population about just 0.6 million and Lakshadweep has only 64,429 people. As you all know, almost half of India's population they live in just 5 states. They are Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal and Andhra Pradesh. Rajasthan is the biggest state in terms of area that has only 5.5% of the total population of India. Can anyone tell me the reason of uneven distribution of population in India? Right, this is due to various climatic conditions and different type of terrain that make our country to have a very uneven distribution of population. According to 2011 data, the population density of India was 382 persons per square kilometer. The density that varies from 1102 persons per square kilometer in Bihar to only 17 persons per square kilometer in Arunachal Pradesh. If you study the figure 6.3, that shows the pattern of uneven distribution of population densities at the state level. If you study the figure 6.3, you will find out the states with population density below 250 persons per square kilometer. Rugged terrain and unfavorable climatic conditions are responsible for the sparse population in these areas. Which all states have high population density? Well, it is the northern plain and Kerala in the south that have high to very high population density. What is the reason behind them? It is all because of the flat plain land with fertile soil, abundant rainfall. Those factors are responsible for densely populated region. Let us discuss about the next important feature of population. It is population growth and processes of the population change. Population, which is a dynamic phenomenon, the number, the distribution and its composition of the population are constantly changing, and this change that influence the interaction of these processes, namely the three important processes, that is birth, death and migrations. What is population growth? It means change in the number of the population of a country or a region during a particular period of time. That is called the population growth. That means in a period of 10 years. It can be expressed in two ways, in terms of absolute numbers or in terms of percentage change per year. The absolute number that is added each year or in a decade is the magnitude of increase, and it is obtained by simply subtracting the earlier population, that is of 2001, from the later population, that is 2011, and this is referred to as the absolute increase. The rate or the pace of population increase is the other important aspect. It is studied in percent per annum, that is a rate of increase of 2% per annum. That means that in a given year there was an increase of 2% for every 100 persons in the base population. This is referred to as the annual growth rate. India's population has been steadily increasing from 361 million in 1951 to 1210 million in 2011. 1951 to 1981, about the annual rate of population growth that was steadily increasing. That the rapid increase of the population from 361 million in 1951 to 683 million in 1981. But during 1981, if you look at the chart, you will find out the rate of the growth started declining. This is due to the birth rates declined rapidly. It is very essential to realize about that India has a very large population. So, when a low annual rate is applied to a very large population, it yields a large absolute increase. When more than a billion people increase, even at a lower rate, the total numbers being added becomes very large. India's current annual increase in population is about 15.5 million, which is large enough to neutralize efforts to conserve the resource endowment and environment. The declining trend of the growth rate is indeed a positive indicator of the efforts due to the birth control. Despite that, the total additions to the population base continue to grow. Well, this declining trend of the growth rate is indeed a positive indicator to the effort of this birth control. But the total additions to the population base continue to grow, which is very alarming. India may overtake China by 2045 to become the most populous country in this world. Let us discuss about the processes of population change or growth. There are three processes of change of population. Those are the birth rate, the death rate and migration. Let us discuss about the birth rate. What do you mean by birth rate? It is the number of live births per 1,000 persons in a year, and it is a major component of growth in India. And you know children, birth rate have always been higher than death rate in India. Let us discuss about death rate. What is the meaning of death rate? It means the number of death per 1,000 persons in a year. And you know children, the main cause of the rate of the growth of Indian population is due to the rapid decline in the death rate. Till 1980, high birth rates and declined death rate that has led to a large differences between birth rate and death rate, that is resulting in higher rate of population growth. Since 1981, birth rates that has been started declining gradually, resulting in a gradual decline in the rate of population growth. What is the reason behind the trend? It is all because your death rate reduced whereas birth rate increased. Let's move on to the third component of the population growth, it is migration. What is the meaning of migration? When the people they move from one place to another, it is called migration. Migration is of two types, internal migration and international migration. This migration, which is the movement of the people across region or the territories, that also affect the population growth. How does internal migration affect the population growth? Though the internal migration doesn't affect the population growth directly, but it changes the number of people in a given region. Internal migration does not change the size of the population, but it influences the distribution of population within the nation. Migration plays a very significant role in changing the composition, so also the distribution of population. If you take the case in India, most migrations that have been from rural to the urban. Rural meaning the village area, urban meaning to the town or city area. What is the reason behind it? It is all due to the push factor in the rural areas. The people living in the rural area are in a very bad state of condition, that is in adverse poverty, and due to the unemployment that make the rural people to move on to the city or the town areas, by which the pull of the city in terms that increased employment opportunities and better living condition. So people start migrating from the rural to the urban areas. As you all know, migration is an important factor that determines the population change. Migration not only changes the population size, but also the population composition of urban, so also in the rural population in terms of age or also in sex composition. In India, the rural-urban migration has resulted in a steady increase in the percentage of population in cities and towns. The urban population has increased from 17.29% of the total population in 1951 to 31.80% in 2011. There has been a significant increase in the number of million plus cities from 35 to 53 in just one decade, that is 10 years, that is from 2001 to 2011. Let us discuss some of the characteristics or qualities of population. Number one, it is the age composition. Age composition, it refers to the number of people in different age groups in a country. It is one of the very important characteristics of the population. To an important degree, a person's age that influences what he needs, what he buys, what he does, or what is his capacity to perform. Consequently, the number and the percentage of population found within the children, working age, age groups are notable determinants of the population's social and economic structure. The population of a nation or a country is generally divided into three broad categories, that is children, working age and aged people. Let us discuss about the children category in the quality of population. Coming to the children, generally they are below 15 years. While discussing about the children, they are always referred as the future of the nation. So, these children are a very important component of population. In the same time, they are economically unproductive and they need to be provided with better food, clothing, education, so also medical care. Moving on to the next category of the population, that is working age, or we call them to be independent population. Their age category remain between 15 and 59 years. Working age or independent people, they are economically productive, biologically reproductive and they comprise the working population. Coming to the last part of the age composition, that is the aged. They comprise above 59 years. These people, they may be economically productive but they have retired. So, they are coming under dependent population. They may have been working voluntarily but they are not available for employment through recruitment. So, the children and the aged categories, they come under dependency ratio as because these groups are not the producers. The proportion of the three groups of India's population is already presented in the figure 6.5. You can verify and check it. The next important characteristics of the population is the sex ratio. Well, what do you mean by sex ratio? It is defined as the number of females per thousand male in the population. This information is an important social indicator to measure the extent of equality between males and females in a society at a given time. The sex ratio in the country has always remained unfavorable to females. Children, do you know why so? It's all because our society always they prefer for a male child, that makes to have an unfavorable towards females. You can refer to the table 6.2 that shows the sex ratio from 1951 to 2011. If you see census year 1951, the female per thousand male was 946. But by 2011, it has come to 943. That means the table shows there is a decrease in female per thousand males. Kerala has a sex ratio of 1084 females per thousand males, whereas Puducherry that has 1038 females for every 1000 males. But whereas in Delhi, it has only 866 females per 1000 males, whereas in Haryana, it is lower than that of Delhi, that is just 877. Let us discuss about the literacy rate in our country. Who is called to be a literate? A person who can read or write at the age of 7 or above. That person is called to be a literate person. Literacy is a very important quality of a population that is in a country. Only an informed and an educated citizen, he can make an intelligent choices and can undertake lot of research work, many more development projects in a country. Low level of literacy, that is a very serious obstacle for the growth of a country, most importantly for the economic growth of a country. According to census 2011, a person aged 7 years and above who can read and write with understanding in any of the languages is treated or called to be a literate. There has been a steady improvement in the literacy levels in India. The literacy rate in the country as per the census of 2011 is 73%, whereas 80.9% for males and 64.6% for females. Again, the question arises why there is a difference. It's all because always we prefer male children to go to the school and get education, whereas the female children are being neglected. Let us discuss about the occupational structure. The occupational structure in a country are of three types. They are primary occupation, secondary occupations and tertiary occupations. Coming to the primary type of occupation, that relates to agriculture, animal husbandry, forestry, mining, quarrying, fishing, etc. Whereas the secondary occupation, it relates to manufacturing industry, building, construction work, etc. Coming to the last but not the least, tertiary occupation, which is also called the service sector, which includes transport, communications, commerce, administrations and many other services. People working in different activities that they vary in developed, so also developing nation. Coming to the developed nation, where mostly the people, those who are engaged in the activity called to be tertiary occupation, than that of the primary or secondary occupations. Whereas in a developing nation like India, mostly the people are engaged in the primary occupation than that of the secondary or tertiary occupations. In India, about 64% of the population is engaged in agriculture. The proportion of the population that dependent on secondary or tertiary subsectors is about 13 and 20% respectively. There has been an occupational shift in favor of secondary and tertiary sectors in our country, India, due to the growth of industrialization and urbanization in the recent years. So students, we have completed a part of this population. Let's discuss some of the question along with its answer, right? Coming to the question 1, why is the rate of the population growth in India declining since 1981? Right. The answer is, since 1981, however, the rate of the growth started declining gradually. During this period, the birth rate declined rapidly. Still, 182 million people were added to the total population in 1990s alone. Coming to the next question, discuss the major components of population growth. Right. The answer is, there are three main components of the population growth. They are birth rate, death rate and migration. Here is another question. Define the age structure, death rate and birth rate. Right. The answer is, the age composition of a population. It refers to the number of people in different age groups in a country. The death rate is the number of deaths per 1,000 persons in a year. The birth rate is the number of live birth per 1,000 persons in a year. It is a major component of growth because in India, birth rate have always been higher than the death rate. Coming to the next question, how is migration a determined factor of population change? Okay, the answer is, the migration is a movement of population across region and territories. Migration can be internal, that is within the country, or international, between countries. Internal migration does not change the size of the population, but influences the distribution of population within the nation. Migration plays a very significant role in changing the composition and distribution of a population. So, students, here we come to the end of the part 1 of population, and we will discuss the next part in our next class. Until then, goodbye, take care and stay safe. Thank you.